G'day, it's Joel Rasmussen here for Southern Cross Combat. I'm here at Infinite MMA in Ballarat talking to Mr. Harry Webb ahead of his title fight at Hex. Harry, thank you so much for having me today in the gym. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Thanks for coming down. Appreciate you making the trek. And yeah, I'm doing well.
Absolutely. I'm more than happy to make the trip to Ballarat. It's a lovely place, a lovely gym you've got here, and I thank you for opening it to me for us to do this. How is the first championship camp?
Mate, it's been unreal, to be honest. I feel like I've just taken up another notch this camp. Dropped a couple of days of work, extra couple of hours of sleep, recovery, extra training. Feeling really good and feeling like I can push hard for 5 rounds.
How is it to kind of make that, like, everyone wants to fight. I mean, fighters. I don't. I'm scared. But everyone wants to fight. Everyone wants to do this. But that, as you said, you've dropped a day of work. You're now doing this more. I'm not going to say you're taking it more seriously because I believe you've always taken it seriously. But how does it feel to kind of make that step further into the full-time fighting?
Yeah, so like you said, I've always taken it seriously, but now I just knew that I'm at a level where I just need to make those extra few sacrifices. And luckily for me, I've had some community get behind me, a few extra sponsors here and there, helps fill that gap financially, which is always helpful. And it feels awesome to be taking the steps towards making this a full-time thing for myself.
Now, talking about taking that step and kind of into a new environment, this is your first professional title fight. I know you've had amateur title fights, but still, are we feeling any different before our first professional title?
In terms of the title, no. Like, I'm aware of what it means to be a champion and that sort of thing. But for me, it's just another fight. It always has to be like that. Not treating it any different. I know I got to fight the guy, and but the title's gonna be nice afterwards.
How is the preparation for 5 rounds going?
Yeah, it's good. Like, obviously, it's harder. It's two extra rounds. It's nearly an extra. It's a whole 10 minutes. But I feel good. Like, my cardio, I've never had a problem with my cardio before. We've built up over the last 12 months, just from the 3s to the 5s, obviously, and now from the 5-3s to the 3-5s to the 5-5s. And I got a great strength conditioning coach who's getting me ready for that. John, he's been making me smash the pads. And yeah, I'm feeling good.
Is it difficult? Do you think your strength and conditioning coach has a hard time when you prep for the full 15 and you don't go the full 15? Like, do you think he's insulted where he's like, come on, man, we're prepping you to use your whole gas tank and you're not using the whole gas tank?
I think I have a hard time. I'm like, I went in here, I did all this training, 8 weeks of training, and it lasts for a minute. I'm like, damn, I shouldn't have even trained. Nah, I'm joking. But yeah, maybe. But he knows. Like, he tortures us in the gym, so yeah, I'm sure he gets some sort of satisfaction out of that.
You prefer to have it and not need it than need it and not have it, I suppose.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Talking about that, your momentum that has been growing since your amateur career. I know it's I believe it's gone now. I had a look before, but you had kind of saved stories throughout your Instagram counting up from your amateur debut all the way to your pro 7-0 in amateurs. I'm correct, 7-0?
Yeah.
Yes, making sure. I wasn't sure if it's 7 or 8, and then 3-0 currently in professional mixed martial arts. How is your momentum growing as you continue to fight?
Yeah, it's obviously, it's growing. I'm getting more traction, more people recognizing my skills, and that I'm a legitimate prospect in Australia. Obviously, that's why I'm in this position. And I think that, I'm at that level now where I should be competing with the best in the country, and I'm going to prove that come March 2nd.
You are definitely competing with one of the best in the country. I believe if we're looking at the Tapology records, the #1 guy in the country at the moment. Just in general, what are your thoughts on Abdallah Biata?
Oh, man, I respect him. He's a really good fighter. Obviously, you don't get to 9-1 without being a good fighter. I've watched him. We fought on the same card a couple of times. Demolition. I think he's good everywhere. He's obviously tough. He can go 5 rounds. I've seen him do it multiple times. But I just think that he hasn't fought anyone like me yet, and it's going to prove that I'm on that level as well.
So I asked Jacob Watts, I did an interview with him, I believe a week ago now. I asked about kind of how this fight came to be, and he basically said they couldn't find an opponent for Abdallah at featherweight. He said, let's go to lightweight. They reached out to you, and you took it instantly. What, from your perspective, how did this fight come to be?
Well, there was obviously talks on their Instagram pages. They were sharing who should Harry Webb fight next and doing polls and that sort of thing. And all the names that were getting mentioned were the top guys like Togo, Donnelly, Lyons, like they're all top guys in the lightweight division. So I was aware that I was going to get to the one of the higher up guys already. And I think if you put me with anyone between where I'm at and the top guys, I'm just probably going to smoke them anyway. So, I wasn't surprised. Maybe a little bit because he was coming up from featherweight, but he's had lightweight fights before, and he's obviously chasing the champ, which is awesome. But yeah, we took it immediately, no hesitation. I think my mentality is if I want to go to the UFC and fight the best in the world, like why shouldn't I fight the best in Australia first? Like if you can't cut it against the best in this country, then why should you be able to cut it against the best in the world? So I'm out here trying to test myself and and prove that I am ready to go to that next level.
Is there any level of intimidation with his extensive record and his experience? This will be his 5th title fight at the professional level. Was there any, oh my gosh, this guy is super experienced?
Like obviously on paper you look at it and you go, he's 9-1. That's a big experience difference. I'm only 3-0 as a pro. But I've been in these situations before where I've had like massively less experience than my opponents. Like on my second amateur fight, I fought a guy, Kim Look, and he had 10 or something kickboxing fights. I think already 5 MMA fights, and I was 1-0 as MMA. So, I've dealt with this before, being the less experienced fighter, but I've been training my whole life, and my skills I think are where they need to be for someone with my experience. And so not really. Like I think I'm ready for the challenge.
How is it? I'm going to try to find a way to word this question that doesn't make it sound super bizarre. But you are a very highly touted prospect. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of eyes on you. There's a lot, and talk about that. 3-0. We talked about that. Very impressive amateur record as well. All that momentum building. But still, a 3-0 guy. A lot of eyes on you. Promotions coming after you. Little peek behind the curtain. Before we did this interview, we had like the local news was talking to you. To be early on into your professional career and kind of have all that, how is that? Is that okay? Is that something you expected? Like, how are you finding kind of all the attention?
I just sort of take it as it comes, I think. Like, I sort of expected it. I feel like early on, even as an amateur, I was sort of getting a bit of it. So it's not really new, or it doesn't really phase me in any sort of way. I feel like I'm ready for that, and I'm just enjoying it. I'm just enjoying the ride, really.
So as a young guy coming up, extensive, you said just before, training your whole life, and we talk about that. On paper it may look like a disadvantage, but it's not. You've been training. At the last Hex event, Jonah McCaleb did a very similar thing to you that you're looking to doing this coming Hex, where he beat an opponent who on paper was more experienced than him. I was just wondering, what do you think about kind of the shift in the scene? Young guys that maybe don't have on paper that extensive record, but then you see and they can get in the cage yourself, Jono, can go out there and they can do it. What do you think kind of how the development of mixed martial arts is going right now?
Yeah, so what Jono did, obviously I take some inspiration from that because he was a massively inexperienced guy, and it's pretty similar in terms of record. And, me and Jono, we've actually had a pretty similar career trajectory up to this point. Fought on Demolition, come through, fought on Hex. But yeah, so I think... Sorry, what was the question?
Just about, like, how do you see mixed martial arts kind of developing?
So I think what it is now, it's the growth of the amateur scene. It's so good now, like the level in amateur. I think there's a lot of amateur guys that are actually better than some of the pros out there. There's just that much more coaching, that much more knowledge around, and just the skill level overall in Australia has just gone up so much that I think... you'll see these guys coming through that are already, beyond pro level, making their pro debut, and they're just going to take over from there. And I think that's what we're seeing at this stage.
Now, of course, if the scene can move in ways that we don't expect, if the UFC comes a knocking, I'm sure there's no doubt you'd be taking that. I mean, there's no doubt that you wouldn't be taking it. Sorry, got tripped over my words there. Obviously, that's everyone's dream. But you capture the title at Hex, you're holding onto that lightweight belt. Do you believe that is enough to get into the UFC, or do you see you having to fight people after that?
I'm not 100% sure. Like, obviously, each fighter is different in their circumstances. We saw Tom Nolan get signed to the Contender 5-0. Do I think I'll need to have one more? I do. I'm probably looking at planning on fighting in June again on Hex. But we'll see what happens. Like if the UFC said we want you, I'd say yeah, okay, awesome, of course. But I wouldn't turn down that opportunity. But if I need to have some more fights, then I need to have some more fights, and it's only going to benefit me anyway. More experience is always good.
You listed some names before about people, kind of fantasy booking people have done about who they would like to see you fight. Is there names that are on the top of your list?
I don't have any names on top of my list. I sort of look at the division every now and again on Tapology and think about who they might try and match me up with. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see after this one. We'll see what they come to us with. I'm sure Hex has some plans. Maybe Jacob's got some plans. But yeah, I'm not looking past Abdallah. He's a it's hard to look past. He's 6'3". So I got a big challenge on my hands, and if I can pass that, then we'll look at who's next.
Now, your nickname, the Human Highlight Reel. I wanted to ask, when did that nickname come to be?
So it was after my first fight, John. It's because I got the knockout, and then I'm trying to do backflips off the cage, which I fucked up both of them. I never wanted to try it again because even though I can do it, I'm like, I don't want to fuck it up again live. So yeah, he came up with the name. He gave it to me early on. I was like, I don't know, and then eventually, I think one of the announcers at Demolition just caught on to it and just started using it. So then I just ran with it, and yeah, I think it's pretty fitting at this stage. So yeah.
How is that to be given the nickname? I know your first amateur fight was a stoppage,
Yeah.
but still, like, you get one stoppage, and now you've gone on to have like countless other ones. How did do you feel you lived up to the name?
Maybe John might have just known, he might have just known that I was going to go and stop everybody. So I feel like I have lived up to the name at this stage. I try not to put pressure on myself to live up to the name because, I just focus on my own performances and, the highlight reels just come.
Harry Webb, I thank you very much for your time. Best of luck. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.